up, dude? And welcome to the Boss Up Ball Out podcast, your home for organic debate about Detroit Lions news and rumors. It's your man, Kurt Steele. Welcome to a special Hanging with the Ops episode where I talk to content creators from opposing teams. Today, I will welcome the host of Ram Showcase, my man, Sherriff Joe Bags. But before I bring him on, do me a quick favor, like the video, and share it with other Lions fans like yourself. If you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers, and we are currently at 1841 at the time of this recording. All right, now it's time to bring in my very, very special guest, Joe Branham, a.k.a. Sherriff Joe Bags, the host of Ram Showcase, a podcast dedicated to the LA Rams. Thanks for coming on, Joe.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. This was our last game, so we had a game preview that was rather exciting, talking about a playoff game, and now we get a week one, dude. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah, now Joe and I attended sportscasting school together at Full Sail University back in the day. We're talking 2018, 2020. We didn't have a chance to do a matchup show before the playoff game because I was on a family trip. So, Joe, let's have some fun and talk about our favorite teams and how they stack up against each other before the week one matchup at Ford Field for waiting all day for Sunday Night Football, baby. All right, let's see what we got here. What's going on? Let's look at what we're going to talk about today on the show. Rams offense versus the Lions defense. Lions offense versus the Rams defense. McVay versus Campbell, and we're going to do a score prediction as well. Want to get your takes on this stuff, right? So first up, we have the Rams offense versus the Lions defense. I'm going to give my take right quick, and then on all three, then I'm going to ask you for your opinions on this, man. Now, first matchup, I give the first matchup advantage to the Lions. The Rams will be out one of their starting tackles due to suspension, and that defensive line for the Lions is just good. The other offensive tackle may miss the game due to ankle injuries. The Lions will be at or near full strength. Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport, along with Aneem McNeil, and we just might have DJ Reader in limited capacity. It's going to be some tough sledding for that Rams kind of makeshift offensive line right now, man. You got the guy out with suspension. It's just a lot of stuff going on with that old line right now. It's just not the same as it was last year, Joe. And then for the Lions, y'all running backs versus our run defense. Now, I will say this. The Lions had the number 2 ranked run defense in the league last year, and not much has changed. I think with the addition of Reader and McNeil, it's going to open in some lanes for those Lions linebackers. It's going to be even harder to run the rock for the Rams. We talk about the O-line being a little banged up too. Now, the Lions held the Rams to 68 yards on the ground in that playoff game last season. I don't see it getting easier coming into week one. And here's where I give you guys some reprieve. That last matchup, I believe that the Rams have an advantage with Kupp and Nakua. Those guys are just tough to handle for any secondary, especially the one that hasn't played together much in the preseason due to injury. Now, our group is better than last year's groups, man. That last year group, you guys just torched us, man. But they haven't had time to gel. Now, if Stafford can get rid of the ball on time, Nakua can have another big, big day in Ford Field, because the last time we saw that brother, man, he lit us up. So I'm gonna ask your opinion right quick. I'm gonna put you on screen just to talk about you. I'm gonna put you on full layout. Okay. Lions, the Rams offensive line versus the Lions defensive line. What you got?
Yeah, so that's actually, I mean, you kind of nailed it there with AJ Jackson being suspended for the first 2 games. So obviously that does hurt, especially when you have such an incredible edge rusher like you do in the Detroit Lions. And Rob Havenstein, I would say that we're kind of tracking for him to play, but I think that we really are on like that 50-50 right now of like that timing might just be a little bit too snug to get him in. If he doesn't play in this game, I expect him back for the future, but of course, Lions fans don't really care about that until we maybe talk about playoff time again. But there's also some interesting mix-ups going on the offensive line. As last year, rookie Steve Avila, he started at left guard, and then all offseason, all training camp, he's been practicing to be the Rams starting center this year. And then this last week, we actually got the notification that with A.J. Jackson being out at left tackle, we might go ahead and swap Avila back to left guard and put in a name that Detroit Lions fans are familiar with, Jonah Jackson, as our center. That is the conversation right now. We'll see how that kind of plays out. I kind of anticipate that it will be Avila at center and Jonah Jackson will be at that left guard spot. We'll kind of see how that unfolds, but that is a conversation right now. So definitely have our hands full up front with that Detroit pass rush. But I also do like these guys, and let's not also, throw away the fact that A.J. Jackson's backup, Joe Noteboom, has been a starter for the Rams. And in the past, he started some games in the playoff run, the Super Bowl run in 2021 as well. So we do feel, A.J. Jackson is the better left tackle, but we feel as Rams fans at least decent about Joe Noteboom playing at that spot. So that kind of gives us a little bit. And then at right tackle, if Rob Havenstein doesn't play, we should expect to see Warren McClendon. And from the Rams' perspective, that would be the spot that I would be most concerned about on the offensive line.
All right. Definitely. And then looking at what you guys have in the run game, I know Sean McVay's been looking at improving. He's looked at last year, tracking the trends. He hasn't been a guy who's relied on running the rock, but he has, in the past kind of tweaked it a little bit where he's trying to incorporate that more as an aggressive runner as in the run game. So what do you think about your running backs versus our second-rate run defense?
Honestly, I love the Rams running backs this year entirely. In any matchup that the Rams have, I'm a big fan. I'm really high. I'm bullish on the Rams backs for sure. Kyren Williams in the last half of the season, we can maybe even look at, maybe it was a little bit less than half of the season, but he missed some games last year and was still up there with the best backs in the league. But the way he ended, if you sample out those last however many games where the Rams only lost to the Ravens in overtime to end the regular season, Kyren Williams was one of the best running backs in the NFL, if not the. And then so he's coming back in healthy. Of course, he's the punt returner, and there's a lot of question marks about making your RB1 your punt returner. I love it myself. Kyren Williams, he's electric. So I think that's a cool move. But the Rams also bringing in the rookie out of Michigan, Blake Corum, who runs exactly like Kyren Williams. So it's kind of nice to get a guy who can kind of come in and fill in those shoes, fill in that spot when Williams needs a breather or, dealing with punt returns, anything like that we can have Blake kind of come in and handle that as well. And if the Rams do need to go any further down than that, Ronnie Rivers didn't play in preseason except for the first game. He got a couple of carries, and that was because the Rams do feel good about him being the RB3. So I like that. And then also, when you're talking about the Rams and Sean McVay, you can't forget about the wide receivers in the run game as well. We'll probably see Tutu Atwell get a couple of those weird jet sweeps if we do incorporate those. Last year we saw him later in the season, not so much early in the season. Obviously Cooper Kupp can run the football, Puka Nacua can run the football, and then we have two really, really good backs. The question mark kind of goes back to the previous point, which would be the offensive line. But I do still feel pretty good about those guys. So I think that'll be one where the Rams are trying to use the run game to set up the pass. I don't think it'll be, we need to run the ball and just kind of just settle on that. I think it'll be to hey, let them know we're not going to abandon this run game real fast,
Yeah, and definitely. And I already conceded with your wide receiver room, man. The guys are very talented, and we just haven't had the time to kind of gel on our, now the talent is better than last year's guys. Our guys are, they're coming in, you bringing in guys like Carlton Davis III, you got Amik Robinson coming in, of course, the rookies with Terry Arnold, Enos Rakestraw. We have better guys, but they just haven't played together because of injuries. So your wide receiver room is pretty stout, man. So I'm gonna take the L on that one, just because of the fact that they're just proving, man. Puka Nacua just set the world on fire in the playoff game against us. He won't place the same guys, but he's still dangerous. He just had a great rookie season, and I'm looking for something big for that young fella, man. He's just a good player.
Yeah, year 2 Puka is something we are all extremely excited about. And plus, we're also starting the season, excuse me, with a very healthy Cooper Cup.
Yeah.
Cup has been talking about feeling the best he's been entering a season in a long time. So that's rather exciting. Then you also get Demarcus Robinson, who ended the season very, very strong last year for the Rams. Tutu Atwell in there is definitely part of this offense, planned into the offense. And then the another late round wide receiver pick that looks like the Rams hit on, which would be Jordan Whittington out of Texas. Kid in the preseason, man, he looks awesome, and he looks like he fits in with that mold that the Rams kind of, we now know under Sean McVay what he looks for in a wide receiver. He does fit that Cooper Cup, Puka Nacua kind of play style.
Yeah, the one thing I think for me that now you're gonna say different from probably from a Rams perspective. The fact that you guys don't have your starting tight end Tyler Higbee, you know, with the injury to his knee that happened in the playoff game. Um, talk to me about some of your backup tight ends.
Honestly, I truly believe this with my whole heart, which is the Rams have the deepest tight end group in the NFL. Not the best, just the deepest. Because you go all the way down our tight end group, and you've got talent down there, even down to our practice squad. Miller Forrestall is a great player. I thought he would get picked up because we have too many tight ends to keep him around. I thought he was going to get waived and get picked up, but we'll start the season with Colby Parkinson, former Seattle Seahawks. So this is his first year as a member of the Rams, but he seems to just kind of fit in kind of perfectly to what we're doing. Hunter Long, who the Rams actually acquired from Miami in a trade with Jalen Ramsey, and it was kind of trashed because it's like, who the heck is Hunter Long? And we're getting rid of Ramsey for him. But he's fitting in real well as well. And then second year player out of Clemson, Davis Allen, who kind of later on in the year was really starting to pop. And so I think that those three will be the guys that we have to start the season: Parkinson, Hunter Long, as well as Davis Allen. And that's a really good group. They're not, your George Kittles or Travis Kelce's, but they're a very talented group. And I believe in any of them to be able to run the offense.
Yeah, and they're not Sam Laporta. All right. Hey, do me a favor, like the video and share it with other Lions fans just like yourself. And if you like the content, man, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You know how we do it right here on the Boss Up All Out podcast. All right, next up, we're going to talk about the Lions offense versus the Rams defense. Now, we all know the fast start that happened last year. Now your defense did adjust, but there's a little bit different things going on with that Rams defense this year. All right. Now, I would say this: going against the Lions offensive line got better. They added Pro Bowl guard Kevin Zeitler to that right side of the O line next to all pro Penei Sewell, whose jerseys I'm rocking right now. Now, the Rams do have a young, talented group on the defensive line. However, Big 99 isn't there, man. I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, but that's a big difference on that defensive line. Detroit has one of the best offensive lines in football. I think PFF rated them either second or first coming into the season. So I have to say, a veteran offensive line versus a young defensive line. Not saying it, it's just a wash that the Detroit is just going to run over those guys, but I think it definitely is an advantage to the definitely Lions. All right, so looking at the playoff game, the Rams, as far as the Rams pass defense versus the Lions run offense, the Lions held the running backs to a minimal gain. I think it was like 70 yards in that playoff game. But the one thing that the Rams couldn't do is keep the Lions out of the end zone. The both backs definitely scored touchdowns in the run game. Now, with the addition of Kevin Zeitler, we talked about him a little bit ago. He's one of the best interior run blocking offensive linemen in the NFL. Detroit will have an improved rushing attack. And one thing I did note, now you're going to tell me, because I want you to educate me on this one as well. You guys traded your best linebacker to the Titans. I'm not I understand what's going on with that one, but yeah, I was kind of mysterious about that one. I was kind of like, what? And I know he asked for a trade. They just made it happen. You don't want to be here, you got to go. Okay, and then the Lions wide receiver and tight end group versus the Rams secondary. Very, very talented Rams secondary. The Lions wide receivers are good, And with Jamison Williams slotted to have a breakout season replacing Josh Reynolds, who had a great game against the Rams in the playoff game, Williams has world-class speed. And with improved route running and catching, he's a nightmare cover for anybody. St. Brown's going to had a good day against you guys in that playoff game. 110 yards, no touchdowns, but he caught the game-winning, game-sealing first down. I believe that part of the matchup is a wash because your guys are going to make plays. Our guys are going to make plays. So it's kind of a wash, right? I think the advantage goes to the Lions because of that one man, Sam Laporta. Now, while he didn't have huge numbers in that playoff game due to that limited action because of a knee injury, but he scored that key touchdown in the second quarter, man. And now Laporta is not healthy. Look at the numbers he put up last year, record-setting numbers for a tight end. He's in his second year. He's going to be a tough cover for anybody in that Rams secondary group or linebacking core. So, all right, I need you to give it to me, brother, because I know you're going to tell the truth because you got to talk about it from your perspective. I got to talk about it from mine, man. So, looking at the Rams defensive line versus the Lions offensive line, you guys got some talented young guys, especially with that draft class, some good guys. But how do you think they match up against that veteran stout Lions offensive line?
Honestly, I think that the Rams front and the Rams, defensive line and edge rushers, I think are part of the most underrated grouping in the entire NFL right now. And that could obviously change depending on, we got a lot of young guys and maybe some guys don't pan out the way we think, but we also, under Sean McVay, for the first time entering a season, we actually have two great edge rushers, or what we believe can be great edge rushers. Isn't this the first time that we've seen that dual threat edge rushing attack since St. Louis, where we had Chris Long and Robert Quinn? So having Byron Young coming into his second year, paired up with Jared Verse, our newest first round pick since we last took a Jared that has been with you guys for a couple years. But to pair them together, I think that is something that we have not seen yet under Sean McVay. But looking specifically at the defensive line, obviously you're a better football team when Aaron Donald's on the field than when he's not. So you obviously take a massive hit there. What we did see was that Kobe Turner came in last year out of Wake Forest, and I mean the kid is insane. He's great and great personality, just an all around, just genuine human being and very top tier player in this league. He's already voted captain. This is his second year, so that's rather exciting. And then you pair him with Bobby Brown, Texas A&M product, who's been around for a little while and has improved every single year. We saw a big jump last year as well. Then you bring in the rookies, Braden Fisk, paired with his college roommate in Jared Verse, which we have not really seen him at all yet, so we don't even know what he can bring to the table. Tyler Davis, a late round pick out of Clemson, he was just damaging people's lives in the preseason. He was getting people cut out here, man, because he was just, the way he was able to get into the backfield so fast is something that is Aaron Donald-esque. And no, I'm not saying that Tyler Davis is the next Aaron Donald. No one's the next Aaron Donald. That's already over. We've already seen it happen. But so even the depth there is looking really good. If Tyler Davis can be a contributor as far as the rotation goes, if Braden Fisk and Bobby Brown and Kobe Turner can generate some pressure on the inside, then I'm feeling pretty good about it. But again, this is a young grouping, so we'll kind of see how it shakes out, especially early season, man, where the Rams are one of those teams that kind of treats the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season as the preseason.
Definitely. Now, how are those guys going to match up against our running backs? We got that very powerful runner in David Montgomery, and of course the lightning in the bottle, Jahmyr Gibbs. What do you think about them, how they match up against those guys? Because I know, I'll tell you right now, Jahmyr Gibbs is that matchup nightmare for a lot of people, especially out of the backfield in the passing game.
Yeah, he really is. And you kind of nailed it there about the linebacker, Ernest Jones. And Ernest Jones actually did not ask for a trade.
Okay.
That was stated on both sides. We don't know what happened. To be very blunt, we have no idea. All of a sudden, Jeremy Fowler puts out a report, says the Rams have given Ernest Jones permission to seek a trade. Ernest Jones tweets out, I never asked for a trade. Sean McVay says, yeah, he never asked for a trade, but we're entertaining offers right now. Like, we've talked to multiple teams about this. And so we don't actually know what happened. I believe, I guess I should say, I don't want to put this on the whole fan base here. I believe that there was an effort level issue with Ernest Jones in training camp. I believe that's exactly what happened, and that's why Sean McVay was giving us the answer. This was a football decision. We are a better football team without Ernest Jones, and I think that was simply based on effort level. So we'll see Christian Roseboom, who's been a starter for the Rams for a few years, and we'll see Troy Reeder, he's going to be a starter for the Rams. We don't even know who's going to be our green dot right now, because with Ernest Jones getting traded away, he was our green dot, and he was the last of our 3 captains that we've carried over from last year. So we have no captains carrying over from last year, and a new defensive coordinator. So straight up, man, there's questions on this defense. Lots of talent, but the questions are there, man. And I will say, for the defense as a whole, I know we're kind of talking about a run game right now, but as a whole, I expect this Rams defense week 1 will be completely different in week 18. So it won't even be fair. And I know you guys won't care about that, because it's like, we weren't gelled yet, though, but hopefully we'll get another game later on in the postseason that we'll be able to talk about. But as far as the run game goes, man, that is a little bit of a concern. Our linebackers, especially those inside linebackers who have not been prepared to be the starter entering week 1, that they are now getting tossed in. So yeah, we'll kind of see how that shakes out. It'll be a schematic thing. Luckily, our linebacker coach from last year is the DC, so hopefully that carryover kind of helps out.
And that last matchup, man, between Sam Laporta and your linebacking core, man, that secondary, he is a monster to cover. I mean, luckily for you guys last year, I mean, he scored a touchdown in the second quarter. Pretty much that it was that last touchdown that kind of kept the score, kind of where it was, and then we kept you guys out of the end zone. But he is a matchup nightmare versus a lot of people, man. So how can they adjust to you? Are you going to guys double him, or how are you going to deal with Sam Laporta?
You'll see Quentin Lake. You'll see him covering Laporta mostly. He is a safety, but he plays what the position the Rams call the star position. That's what Jalen Ramsey played when he was here.
Okay.
So kind of just a little bit all over the place, a bit of a box safety. You'll see 3 safeties out on the field for the Rams. In that third safety being Quentin Lake. I mean, the numbers will make sense, but we'll replace a inside linebacker, so Reeder or Roseboom, with a safety in Quentin Lake, not so much a corner. So it's like a kind of a shifted nickel dime package with more like back end help with a box safety than just adding corners. So that'll be kind of how that is addressed. But as far as the secondary, much like you guys are, improved dramatically talent wise, but they haven't played together yet. So, I mean, you bring in Tre'Davious White, you bring back into Darius Williams, a Cam Curl, who I'm extremely excited about, Cam Kinchens via the draft. We've got some really strong players, but it's when do they gel and really start turning it on together? I think that week 1 is too early for that, unfortunately, but the talent is there. So I'm looking for one-on-one matchups rather than the cohesive playing of passing off zones and all that stuff. But Laporta, you mentioned St. Brown. I mean, definitely some talent out there. So these guys will have their hands full, but I mean, you just got to get after it, right?
Yeah, you guys are kind of in the same boat that we are. Our starting secondary hasn't played together for various reasons in the preseason. Of course, our starters don't play, just like you guys don't play. You got starters in the preseason as well. So that's kind of one matchup. As far as it's going to be interesting to see how you guys deal with our wide receivers and tight ends, and the same and vice versa, how we deal with your wide receivers and tight ends on our end. All right, last matchup to talk about, man. Coach versus coach. You got Sean McVay, the young kid. You know what I'm saying? He was the wonder kid. The coaching matchup is tricky. All right, for me, because they're 1-1 head to head. All right, 2021 Lions came in, got beat in LA. 2023 playoff game, of course, the Lions got that big dub with Jared Goff. The crowd was going crazy. Their overall records: Sean McVay 77-49, Dan Campbell with 27 500. MCDC records include the 2 playoff wins. But here's the difference as far as just the accomplishments. McVay has 2 Super Bowl appearances, Super Bowl champion in 2021. One Super Bowl appearance for Dan Campbell, but that was in 2000 as a player and a member of the New York Giants, and they went up and lost that game versus the vaunted defense of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, for me, I will want to give the advantage to MCDC. This is because of the fact that he got the last win and it was in Ford Field. However, It's the first game of the year, and I'm gonna say for me it's a wash. It's gonna more depend on who the players on the field than it is the coaching. I just think that's what it's gonna come down to. Who performs better on the field? So for me, coaching is a wash.
You know, I tend to agree. And I'll say this, man, about that game, about the playoff game. So, I mean, just take a snapshot of that. All right. So, like the Rams go into that game. We all felt great going into that game. Rams went like was 7-1 to end the season, with the only loss being in Baltimore in overtime on a punt return for a touchdown. It was like we felt like we should have won that one even, you know. But then you go into Detroit, first playoff game in X amount of years. What was the number of years? First home playoff?
32.
32. And I'm 33 right now. So like the first time in my life that I was around when the Lions had a home playoff game, you know what I mean? And it was against their former quarterback with Jared Goff, who is like obviously just going to be way up for that game to spite his former team, you know what I mean? And sidebar, that little line from Dan Campbell in the locker room of "you're good enough for Detroit, Jared Goff is football." That's so pure, dude. I can't argue with that. That's so awesome. I love that, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean, most Rams fans support Jared Goff. We kind of have his back. But going into that game, man, I think that the Rams feel like we missed out on a lot of opportunities and lost by 1 point. It kind of just seems like the football gods just weren't going to let the Detroit Lions lose that football game. You know what I mean? So, and then obviously almost go all the way to the Super Bowl. But the way the Rams played in that game, the way the Lions played in that game, I think that the matchup was so tight, was so close. And it was kind of interesting, Kurt, that we had both kind of talked about. It's like both of our fan bases are kind of looking at the other, of like kind of overlooking the other team a little bit. And I think that part of it is like the Lions fans looking at that game of like, hey, we won. But then the Rams fans kind of look at that game of like, yeah, but we didn't even play that great. They're definitely not our best football of the year. So I think it kind of goes back and forth with that, man. This coaching matchup specifically, Dan Campbell, I love Dan Campbell, man. He's another A&M guy, so I always kind of support them. But also the way he runs his team, man, I think it's absolutely incredible. Sean McVay is the best head coach the Rams have ever had, though. So I think there's something to be said about that. I kind of agree with you, man, that this is a wash. And I think that the record that you posted there, 27-27, that's almost misleading for Dan Campbell. He's not a 500 coach. You know what I mean? Like obviously there was some years in there early that kind of are impacting those numbers, but I mean the dude's an incredible coach and he will be for a really long time. So yeah, I kind of consider that a wash, man. But going back to that last game, that is like I feel like both teams kind of look at that one of like we could have played better, and like the Rams fans, we're sitting here, we missed field goals and stuff like that. And it's like, damn, by 1 point we were actually leaving points on the board. And yeah, it's just kind of rough, man. And then the way that the Lions kind of, I feel like it was destiny, though. The Lions were going to win that football game. The football gods were not going to let Matthew Stafford walk out of there and continue playing on. Like, it was just that was going to be the way it was. Lions were going to win that one. I was mad about it. I was so mad about it, man. But I think ultimately I was super, like, not proud. Proud's the wrong word, but like stoked for the city of Detroit, stoked for fans like you who have been here forever and kind of, just like, even when it's terrible, you're just in it, just, like, it'll be good, man. It'll be good someday, So I think that ultimately, man, the coaching is so on par with each other in this one, that's going to be such a fun matchup to watch, and how they are managing the games. That'll be very interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely. And I had to take, because I hadn't really talked to you, but like I
Yeah.
was on a cruise for my birthday during that game,
Oh, I didn't want to talk
and
about it.
and it was packed with Lions fans. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like it was so many Lions fans on that cruise. I don't know that they ship them from Michigan or something. I don't know what it was, but it was crazy. I saw one guy with a Ram shirt on, like in the sports bar, but he was representing, man. It was such a fun game to watch. The matchup was so great, and I think it's going to be another fun game to definitely watch this Sunday night opening week, man. The NFL guys knew what they were doing to schedule it. To have this matchup again in week 1 back in the Motor City, we know that Kelly Stafford is going to be watching at home in LA. She's not going to bring the kiddies out. She's going to be hanging back at the crib because she was not well received the last time. Lions fans having a debate right now about should the Lions have a tribute video to Matthew Stafford for everything, all the things. I think at one point he had like 31 Lions passing records. Like it was ridiculous. I think Jared Goff has a couple now. It kind of took a couple away from him, but
I'll be honest, I was
so fun.
I was extremely surprised the Detroit reaction to Matthew Stafford running onto the field. I'm still kind of
Oh,
baffled by it. I don't really understand it. I'll be honest.
it was a enemy territory. Like you're here,
Oh,
like
man.
in the playoff game. But see,
That's
I
straight up.
think
I'll
I
argue
think
on that one, man. I think that was
I
a
think
bad
it was
move. I think
I,
that was
I think
bullshit.
I think it was more for Lions fans. It was like we can't let this guy come in and win this game. And I think that's
Fair.
what it is. They were gonna do everything in their power, and it was like it was like right now he's
I mean,
gonna stop us
I guess,
from getting to
but
our goals. But
I think
I get what you're saying. Like for things that now the one thing that Lions fans will probably rebut you on is like, dude. I mean, even though he played his heart on Detroit, man,
he didn't
and
he didn't leave in a bad way though. I think that's my problem with
oh, I
that
think that
reception.
I talked about that. I talked about that on a show,
Yeah.
a previous show that he was just kind of tired, man. He didn't want to go through another regime change with going from Fat Patricia to and yeah that
Yeah,
was the worst coaching
that is
staff
I'll tell you
ever.
that, man. That's exactly why I was bothered by it because it was like, damn, dude, like you guys, like that was your guy,
Yeah,
and he didn't even leave bad. You didn't leave with like, I hate this place. Get me the hell out
yeah.
of here. Like he didn't do
It
any of
wasn't
that.
like
I was
he
surprised.
didn't do that. But I just think it was more of a you know we're not going to be a friendly environment doing a playoff game. I think it's probably more
Fair,
like
and
what
I
it
think
is.
he was surprised by it too.
Yeah,
I think it
I
caught
think
him
he
off
was.
guard.
But I think it'd be. I don't think it will be as. I don't think it will be friendly at all. But
Oh, it doesn't
but
matter anymore. It's
yeah. But
over now.
yeah. I think that I think that
The enemies have been
that
made, man.
like I think some of the Lions fans they're like, hey man, come back after you hang them up. We got you, brother. But right now,
Yeah, and see, that's the
but
thing.
hey,
Is from what we see, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the way that he was received in Detroit, I think he's like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I'm good. I really feel that way based
yeah,
on what
it
he
may
was talking about.
and hey. And the D is always Detroit versus everybody, baby. That's how it's gonna roll. It's just how
Even
that's
your
how
own, huh?
we get down. Yeah,
Detroit
man.
even
But hey,
versus your own, huh?
yeah. Well, when he put that Rams jersey on, he wasn't ours no more. So hey, thank you for joining us right here, man, on the show. I appreciate you hanging out with me, Sheriff Joe Bags, hanging out with the Ops episode, man. Tell them
Hey,
where they
we
can
got a quick
find your
score.
show.
We got a quick score prediction.
Oh yeah. We gotta do a score prediction. I forgot about that, man. All
I'll
right,
keep,
score prediction for the game. What do you got? You up first, my man.
I'm gonna keep it quick, man. I think that we see a game that's kind of pretty similar to the playoff game. I'm gonna say that Joshua Carty hits a last second field goal as time expires for the Rams to win 24-21.
24-21. I have the opposite. I have the Lions winning 28-20. I just think that we're gonna get that last touchdown we didn't get in the game against you guys. We're gonna get it this time, and we're gonna go ahead and get that touchdown and
There
score
you go.
4 touchdowns. You guys are gonna we're gonna hold you out of the end zone a couple times. Because we're gonna blanket Cooper Cup down in that red zone.
Okay.
Like we
Oh,
did
go
last
ahead,
time.
dude. We got others. You're good.
Yeah. But tell the people where they can find you and your show.
Yeah, just about everywhere. If you're listening to podcasts, you can find Ram Showcase there, up on YouTube and Facebook for videos. As far as socials go, I am at Sherriff Joe Bags, and you can follow the podcast at Ram Showcase, just about everywhere.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for coming on, man. I appreciate you,
Thank you,
man.
man.
Hey, do me a quick favor out there, man. If you fans of the show, man, make sure you follow the channel on your favorite social media platform. You see my co-host, Coach Mike Jones, and my man LL Coutons. Make sure you follow us and go over to Wolverine Sport Talk, man. He has some great YouTube shorts over there on his channel, man. Yeah, I know what I do on my channels. And of course, my man LL Coutons, how he gets down, man. All right, man. Thank you again for joining me, Sheriff Joe Bags, man. Do me one quick favor. Whatever you're doing in life, you got to boss up, ball out, and be the best version of you that you can be. For Sheriff Joe Bags, this is Kurt Steele, and I will holla at you real soon.